Laguna Woods residents, there's a 70% chance you will need long-term care, yet Medicare doesn't cover it. Will you and your family be ready? Hi, I'm Mike Barrett, your Laguna Woods long-term care insurance specialist. I'm here to protect you, your family, your assets, and your lifestyle to secure your future. Call today for a free consultation at 949-525-0606.
We're going to be talking about long-term care insurance and what that is all about and how it might be good for you. And joining us to do that is Mike Barrett from LTCR Pacific Agency. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Welcome here. So let's talk about what this is and basically how you got started in this. Tell me a little about your story and why this is like your industry and the thing you're doing.
Absolutely. First off, again, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Absolutely.
Not just to share my personal experience, but also to educate the residents of Laguna Woods Village. I've been in financial services for 25 years, okay? But I always had a deeper desire to truly help people and leave a memorable impact. You know, there's about 10,000 baby boomers every day turning 65. And every one of them has about a 70% chance of needing some form of long-term care.
Okay.
That's when I knew this was the right path for me to pursue.
And the long-term care insurance, what exactly does that mean to folks who aren't familiar with this kind of product or what it does, and you know, how does it help folks?
Yeah, great question. So long-term care insurance is there primarily for two reasons, either a physical impairment or a cognitive impairment, okay? There's no age associated with it. It could be at any point in our lives. But again, it's either when we're having a physical challenge getting around, such as a mobility challenge, or it could be a cognitive impairment. Maybe it's a brain injury, maybe it's Alzheimer's, maybe it's dementia.
Now, people who have saved all their life and have retirement and have this plan, and then something like this happens to them, it can be devastating to their finances, not only their finances, but also the families that are trying to help them and support them and need. So is that where this kind of comes in?
Absolutely. If you may, I'm going to share my own personal story here for a second. About 2 years ago, this became very personal to me. My own mother was in a terrible accident. She broke several bones. She broke her ankle, her knee, her hip, broke several ribs, sustained a debilitating neck injury. She was hospitalized for about 2 weeks. She had multiple surgeries. She was then released and sent to a skilled nursing facility. During the same time, my wife and I welcomed a baby girl who was born with a severe case of colic. So unfortunately, I couldn't be there for my mother during this critical time.
You were busy at home.
Very busy, and it was very stressful because I wanted to be there not just for my family, but also for my daughter. And on a side note, I have another 8-year-old girl. I live about 2 hours from my family, and I'm an only child.
Oh my gosh.
And in addition,
so you have no one else to lean on for the support.
And in addition, my father has a bad back, so he's not in a position to help. Now, thankfully, they have a long-term care policy, and my mother's been on claim now for about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really been like a kind of a savior to this whole situation?
Oh, absolutely. And the savior's not just financial. It's emotionally and physically. And I will tell you, this experience really reinforced how important my work is. It's critical that everyone seriously considers a long-term care policy for these purposes.
And for you, like your personal story, I bet that was a great relief to know that, okay, there is some way to handle this that is not going to disrupt everybody's lives in such a huge way, right?
Absolutely. I mean, my mom has a professional care provider. She is amazing. She goes above and beyond. She helps my mom with errands. She's even now driving her and my father to come see me, and I live about 2 hours away.
Wow.
But knowing that, you know, she's got a professional caretaker provides me the peace of mind that she's in great hands.
Right. And I'll bet your mom is also in this situation where she's like, I don't want to be a burden on anybody. Who wants to be a burden on another person in the family? Who wants to disrupt someone else's life because of their things that are going on with them, right? So I imagine she's thankful that they had the cognizance to make sure they had that insurance.
Absolutely. They're very fortunate. And, you know, fortunately for them, they got their policy about 20 years ago. And it's been an absolute lifesaver.
Now, we touched on some of your personal story, but let's talk about why it's important for people to consider that who may be already in retirement, living here in Laguna Woods Village. Can people who are already in their retirement years get this kind of policy?
Absolutely. I work with clients of all ages. It really depends on each individual. But I always tell people There's 4 primary reasons why everybody should seriously consider a long-term care policy. I'll start off with the more obvious, and that's protecting your assets and your savings. The cost can be ridiculous, and I've seen this firsthand, okay? If my family didn't have a policy, they would have depleted not just a huge portion of their assets, but they would have been forced to sell their home.
Yeah, we've got a chart up on the screen looking at just the annualized cost for something like this, right?
It's like I said, it's ridiculous. So yeah, if you take a look here, if we just focus on a female, average female goes on claim for about 4 years. And you can see here for in-home care at 8 hours a day, $93,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, you times that by 4.
And that's the cheapest.
Yeah, yeah. And if we factor in some inflation, in 20 years from now, you're looking at $625,000 for 4 years of care.
Wow.
Yeah, not cheap.
And the income, I understand, is like one of the best kind of things you can do because people, they're healthier, they survive longer if they're in home in those familiar environments. So that's always the preference. But sometimes it just can't be done in home anymore. And then the cost really kind of goes up when you talk about assisted living and nursing homes and things like that, right?
Absolutely. Everyone prefers to be home. It's a lot easier for family and relatives to visit if they want to stay overnight and so forth. My mother was in a skilled nursing facility for about 6 months. She couldn't wait to get home. Thankfully, with the policy, it gave us some additional flexibility, so we were able to get her home sooner. And we had a caretaker initially starting with about 12 to 16 hours a day at home. But yeah, everyone prefers to stay home. About 70% of folks that go on claim start at home.
Okay, we touched on it a little bit. Let's go to that next slide on average time on claim, which is an important thing to understand that this is going to be sometimes years in the making when this insurance kicks in and has that coverage.
Absolutely. Yeah, so again, average male goes on claim for 2.2 years, average male is 3.7. The one caveat here is Alzheimer's and dementia. And I know the slide says 8, but average numbers are now closer to 8.5 years. So this can get quite expensive.
And like we talked about before already, there's a big impact on families when something like this happens and you don't have that insurance. So let's go to that next slide we're talking about here and what it looks like for everybody in this group.
Yep. So first off, I was in this position. So
you were there.
Yeah, exactly. So this was huge for me. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there for my mother as much as I wanted to because I had to be home. But thankfully, we had the care provider, and that gave me the peace of mind that my mom was in great hands. But typically, when folks go on claim and our parents need help, that responsibility falls on the adult children. It falls on relatives.
Right.
Right. So
you were 2 hours away, but some people are out of state. They, folks move to Florida and that kind of thing. And so it's an impossibility for them to be over there and covering these things.
Absolutely. So it's very important that we at least have a plan, and ideally we have a policy in place that's there to protect them when they need this type of service.
Absolutely. So when you got into this business, what did you think it was going to be and what did it turn out to be? Because there's one thing to have that perspective of, I experienced it with my own family, but when you got into this, how did it kind of I'm realizing this is what this is all about and this is the kind of care I can really provide?
Yeah, that's a great question. First off, I didn't fully realize the likelihood of actually needing this policy. I mean, the fact that it's a 70% chance that we all need it, and I'll tell you this, I can't tell you how many people call me and say, you know what, Mike, we're going to reevaluate this in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years from now, and then they call me later, and unfortunately, they're uninsurable, right? So I always tell people...
Because now they've had the incident, the injury, or they've slipped into dementia or something like that?
Absolutely. Maybe there's a medical issue where they're now no longer insurable. So I always tell people, the younger we are, the healthier you are, there's no need to wait. Right. That's when we want to look at a policy.
Right. A debilitating stroke, an accident, a heart attack, things like that. All of a sudden, you can't get that, and you kind of miss that window of saying, yeah, I'm under this coverage.
Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm an independent insurance broker, right? So I represent about 15 carriers. So my goal here is to do what's best for the client. I can shop it, and many times I can actually find a policy that might work for them.
So it's kind of a concierge service that you do, right? You can shop around for the best and what their needs might be.
Absolutely. So my biggest differentiator is my concierge service. My guarantee to every client is I want to personally be there for them when they need this. I experienced it firsthand. I know the importance of this. I tell every one of my clients, when you get a policy through me, you get my cell phone number. I want to be the first person you call. Don't call the 800 number on that policy. Call me. I have a supporting cast. Okay,
right.
We're going to help make sure that claim is filed appropriately. It doesn't get delayed. It doesn't get denied, and it's going to get approved. And then we're also going to take that next step and find that best care for you.
Can you run through the type of policies that might be differentiators for folks? Hey, this one's good for this one's good for this?
Yeah, so it's very individual. So, I have an initial conversation with clients, ask a variety of questions, dive into the health a little bit. But I do represent, as I mentioned, a variety of carriers, and that comes with different products. That could be a traditional product. It could be hybrid products that have a guaranteed death benefit associated with it. It could even be a long-term care annuity.
Okay, so that sounds like a good variety pack there for folks. They can find that, like you say, you'll find the policy right for them. All right, thank you very much, Mike. Welcome to the show. Welcome to us, and from LTC Pacific Agency. I really appreciate you coming in and giving us all this information, folks. The number's on the screen. That 949 number is the one to call to get that consultation. There you go. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.